Microservices is an approach to application development in which a large application is built as a suite of independently deployable modular components.
Hey guys, welcome to the Stuff Developer Should Know podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to new podcast episode, and I'm gonna share about the training topic for developers, and that is about the microservices. Let's see what all things I'm gonna cover in this episode. So I'm going to start with basic about the microservices. What is microservices architecture? Later we'll learn the reasons or benefits of choosing microservices, and finally we'll see the best practices to design microservices. So let's begin. Application architecture is nothing but the technical process of designing and structuring the solution for business requirements. When an enterprise application is taken for design, there are many architectures available to consider as techniques or patterns for developers to follow while coding, right? Now let's understand first, what is microservices architecture? Microservices is an approach to application development in which a large application is built as a suite of independently deployable modular components or services. And these are modeled around the business domain, which means each service is self-contained and implements a single business capability. Our formally defined microservices concept on microservices.io website is that says microservices, also known as microservice architecture, is an architectural style that structures an application as a collection of services and that are highly maintainable and testable, loosely coupled, independently deployable, organized around the business capabilities, and owned by a small team. So this is the main definition you could find on microservice.io website. Basically, they have presented things in structured manners. So if you want to know in depth, you can have a look at once. Now coming back to the concept, the key point is by looking at the functionalities offered from the monolithic, you need to identify the required business capabilities, and then those business capabilities can be implemented as fully independent, loosely coupled microservices. Microservices implementation use APIs or events that are more likely standard based, and those you can say the basic HTTP or TCP protocol based. So regardless of languages used within your organization, the microservice implementation is not bound to a single or dedicated programming language. So you can implement in your favorite programming language. The concept is designing the microservice. So, and these microservices use lightweight communication protocols, as I said in earlier, and are highly focused on providing one capability. The microservices, the term macro refers to narrowness of the focus, not the size, right? And most of the large scale websites, naming you can say including Netflix, Amazon, Uber, Spotify, eBay, and many more have adopted microservices architecture. So, however, the one challenge with using this approach is deciding when it makes sense to use it. And there would be different scenarios and circumstances for individuals. So you would have a question how to decide this. So let's look at the reasons you can have or you can choose from based on your requirements or the organizational or business capabilities to choose the microservices architecture or not. So let's see the top 10 reasons you can say you can look at to choose the microservices architecture. So let's begin. The first one is isolated services. See, microservices are isolated services. allowing you to split up, modularize, upgrade, and develop them independently of each other. They are independent. The key concept is from monolithic application, by looking at the functionalities offered, we can identify the required business capabilities. Right? Then those business capabilities can be implemented as independent, loosely coupled, and self-contained microservices. Basically, this helps for easier development, enhancement, and putting things into production without affecting the whole application as compared to the monolithic. Like in monolithic, you need to deploy the whole package in production, right? So these isolated services can communicate with each other. They use the lightweight communication protocol. Same like the mesh network, they communicate with each other. They are connected with each other based on the implementation, and that is achieved through inter-service communication. Okay? So isolation is the main first reason. Coming to the next point, the next reason you can say the second reason, flexibility to evolve. For evolving business and faster changing user requirements, microservices architecture is the better choice, I can say. Reason being, it is easier to add new feature to complex application. You just need to add a new service to it, and the communication you need to handle it, perform testing, and deploy independently. It is flexible to handle requests or services on independent deployable service and tweak accordingly based on the business requirement. And even development solution can be tested easily rather than working on the whole package if performed in monolithic. So this is the next reason you can consider if you have mindset to look out for. Now next look at the third reason. The next one is brings up the agility, the most trending topic again. In today's highly competitive environment, organizations succeed or fail based on the agility, like speed at which they deliver their product or services, features based on the market or user requirements, the key factors, continuous attention to technical excellence and good design enhances the agility. The agile model supports distributed and decentralized ownership of software assets and promote faster turnaround of changes and rapid development. This is required for large enterprises to grow, and microservices are built around the business capabilities. Now let's look at the fourth reason, the scalability. The basic term you can look out for the scalability is how well you can scale your application. Sometimes we need to scale our application based on the user requests coming in, and for smooth and better responses, scaling is the option. This can be better achieved using microservices. How? Because where scaling decisions can be made at more granular level in microservices, it becomes easier to select where to apply the resources to meet their scaling needs based on the smaller, more granular components, and allowing more efficient system optimization and organization. Like in monolithic, you need to scale the whole package, but here you need to look out which particular component service you need to scale based on the request coming in, and you can automate too. Now let's look at the fifth reason, the decentralized data. Microservices suggest that services should not share a data store. It's a best practice too. Instead, each microservice entity maintains its own individual data store. Reason being, by isolating each microservice data store, changes have minimal impact and the agility of independent service is maintained. Right? The reasons you can connect with each other. Another reason for maintaining a separate data store is that microservice may come with its own read-write patterns, data models, or queries. right? So individual component can have these different fundamental features or reasons to choose as a decentralized data store for microservice. Yeah. Now coming to the next point, the sixth one is containerization. You must have heard of Docker and then the Kubernetes, right? So the basic concept for microservices comes with the Docker point. This is at deployment in infra level. Many businesses make a move to containerized infrastructure because of the need to scale. Again, the connect with scalability. Containers like Docker, these encapsulate a lightweight runtime environment for your application, maintaining a consistent application environment that can follow from a developer's local development to testing to final production deployment. See, microservices are easy to manage and simple to replicate or remove. This means you have a consistent approach to scaling, orchestrating, and managing your application. So this would be the another benefit you can say at microservice level. Coming to the seventh point, easy monitoring. So microservices have different and more intensive monitoring requirements. You can say this is a benefit, or this would be a different approach of thinking and choosing microservices. But you can say the reason or benefit if you look at the concept as it. As services run independently with their dedicated resource, monitoring and debugging application becomes easier with monitor and performance tools. So everyone would have a different opinion, but you can choose as a you need to monitor the individual service, and it becomes easier with the tools available in the market. Coming to the eighth point, the technological flexibility. See, microservices eliminate the classic long-term commitment to single technology stack. You need to use the Java. You need to stick to the one different programming language like .NET. The microservice eliminate this commitment. It brings up the flexibility to try out new technology stack on individual service. You can have a bunch of services deployed in different containers have been implemented in different programming languages. This is the flexibility you will find here. See, by microservices, new technology and process adoption becomes easier. Each microservice can be written in a different programming language just because they run separately, right? And communicate effectively via well-defined interfaces or protocols. See, you just need to have a REST-based services implemented in different programming languages. They would communicate with the common platform, the inter-service communication with protocol, HTTP, right? So this is a flexibility. So coming to the next point, 9th point, the most famous one, continuous and faster delivery. With microservices architecture, updates can be performed independently without affecting the rest of application, as I said. This leads to quicker application development and version rollouts, so that companies can fail fast and stick to agile product timelines. They can grow, work on different features, continuously work on it, deploy it, look at the features, add new feature, deploy it, rather than affecting the whole bunch of application, right? Coming to the last point, the 10th point, fault tolerant. See, now you have a bunch of application, bunch of services running off. There will be a fault, but the reason you can choose with microservice or benefit is it is fault tolerance. There are tools available. Let's see how. The microservice has a better fault tolerance capabilities. Implementation can be achieved with the help of circuit breaker. The one I can say that we use the implementation by Histrix by Netflix, I think. Yeah. So circuit breaker is a concept that can help if and when problem arise when small piece of your application is affected instead of the whole application, as in if you consider the monolithic application. So by introducing these capabilities, an application is able to operate at certain degree of satisfaction when failure appears, right? It has a concept, the circuit breaker has a concept of fallback, like you can have another resource to connect with or show some data if some particular service fails. So these were the basic 10 points I can say that in my opinion the reasons or benefits of choosing the microservice architecture. So if you came up with the microservice architecture, let's see the best practices you can follow for designing the microservice. So I will list out it. The first one, I could say the separate data store for each microservice. Again, the reason I told you this decentralization of the data store. The next point or next best practice, keep code at similar level of maturity. Third, separate build for each microservice. The fourth one, deploy in containers. Fifth best practice, treat server as a stateless. So these were the common best practices to follow. Again, understand that before you start transforming your system into microservice, make sure to have a real reason why you want to do it. You need to consider the unique feature of your system first and only change the part of the system that hurts the most. If you decide to switch to microservice architecture, take a incremental approach and take out the small non-critical part, you can say. You need to choose the non-critical part of the system to see how it's gonna work for your organization. This is also serves as a good way to get organizational buy-in for creating more microservice. Just try. You can start with the trial and error and see how better it works for your project. Yeah. So that's it about today's episode. Hope you liked it. See you at next episode with some new and interesting stuff at Stuff Developer Should Know podcast. Guys, please do share with people, with developers community. Help people grow. Till then, happy learning and take care.